Okay, just take a couple moments to have a look at this one. Maybe you already did that over the break. How would you organize this process?
2 stages, life cycle and production of silk cloth.
Mm-hmm. Just gonna make it a bit smaller. Yep. So life cycle and then silk cloth production. Let's start with the life cycle stage. Remember, during the actual exam, you might as well start writing in point form. You can think and write in point form and then just transform your ideas into full sentences afterwards. So, Ala, tell me about the life cycle of the silkworm.
Okay, so the process of life cycle of the silkworm starts.
So you don't need to say, sorry, when you say cycle, don't say process because it's the same thing. Those are synonyms.
Okay, so life cycle, silk life cycle, life cycle of the silkworm.
Yep.
Starts with the eggs, with the silkworm that produce egg.
What do silkworms turn into?
It's not clear. The word is not clear.
Moth.
Moth.
M-O-T-H. It's like a caterpillar. Do you know this word M-O-T-H?
M-O-T-H?
Yeah.
No.
It's like a kind of like a butterfly, but not a butterfly.
Okay.
No, caterpillars can turn into butterflies or they can turn into moths.
Moths.
Let me find a picture. Hang on. So this is a moth.
Okay. So it's a kind of bug?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, they get into your clothes, they eat your clothes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the life cycle of the silkworm starts with the moth.
Okay.
The moth doing what?
Producing egg.
Laying eggs.
Laying eggs. On what?
On leaves.
And does it tell us what kind of leaves they are?
Mulberry leaf.
On mulberry leaves. Okay, Dina, next step.
So the moth lays egg, and after 10 days, silkworm larva develop.
So we can use the same verb as we saw in the previous one.
What is it?
Maturation.
Emergence.
Who just said that? Chamri, what did you say?
Emergence.
Emerge. Good. Or
Emergence.
Safa.
Safa.
Emerge. You can say from the eggs. From from the eggs.
Silkworm larva emerge from egg.
Yeah, larva is like the baby, right?
Yes.
So in step 1 we've got eggs. Step 2 we've got larva. So obviously the larva emerged from the eggs, and
larva, the plural larvae or it is larva.
AE.
What
AE.
does it mean?
Sorry.
What does it mean, larva?
Larva is just what these things look like.
Oh, okay.
Lots of good pictures today. Here, this is larva.
Okay.
Silkworm larva emerge. Larva. Yes, thank you for catching that. Larva plural is AE. Larva singular is just A. Emerge from the eggs, and it mentions it's got food here in brackets.
Feeding on marble leaf, or what is it? Yeah.
Mulberry.
Mulberry.
I'm going to put the mulberry leaves because that's where they were laid. Feeding on the mulberry leaves. Good. Okay, Safa. Next.
Yeah. The cocoon. Actually, now we are in stage, right?
Stage 3, and don't forget the time.
Oh, yeah, 4 to 6 weeks, and then the larva emerge from the silkworm. This is done after 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, then after 3 to 8 days.
We're still on number 3. You're doing 4 to 6 weeks, and then this stuff.
Okay, then silk. I couldn't read the.
It says silk. This says silk thread.
Okay, silk thread from larvae.
Yeah. So what are the larvae doing here?
I start producing silk.
Yes, and what is the purpose of the silk?
To form cocoon.
That's it. After 4 to 6 weeks, the larva. Okay, Safa.
After 4 to 6 weeks, the larva produce silk thread.
Or maybe we should say over 4 to 6 weeks. I'm not. It's a little bit unclear. Okay, we'll leave it at this. After 4 to 6 weeks, the larva produce silk. Produce silk is okay, but it's a little bit not specific enough to describe what's in the picture.
Silk thread.
Because what are they doing with that silk?
Put it together one.
Cover themselves by silk thread.
Produce silk to, or let's say cover themselves with silk. Produce silk to form a cocoon. To surround themselves in a cocoon. To form a cocoon around themselves. We could say the larvae. Silk to form a cocoon around themselves. No, that's good. Produce silk to form a cocoon around themselves.
I can say during the 4 to 6 weeks, the larvae produces silk, form a cocoon.
Okay, let's do it that way. That's probably what it is, but the diagram doesn't say exactly how long that takes, but okay, maybe you're right. Over 4 to 6 weeks, larvae produce silk to form a cocoon around themselves. See, what confuses me is that it says 4 to 6 weeks to get to step 3, and then what's the difference between step 3 and step 4?
I think 4 to 6 weeks to start the larvae weaving herself with this, and then produce.
So it's not clear if this is the beginning of the process or if this is like getting close to the end of the process. It's a little.
Yes, it's going through because cocoon is complete, it surrounded themselves complete with silk.
Okay, so let's say that over 4 to 6 weeks, the larvae produce silk to form a cocoon around themselves. Okay.
After 3 to 8 days. Okay.
Yep. Okay, you might as well, Allah.
Yeah, I was like saying over the 4 to 6 weeks, the larvae produces silk thread. We can say then after 3 to 8 days, cocoon is, yeah.
Okay. After, let's say another.
Yes, another 3 to 8 days.
8 days.
Cocoon is produced.
Or the cocoon is
Formed.
can we put one word in,
Formed?
is fully formed. Let's just say that.
Yes, or completely formed.
Yeah, fully formed, completely formed. Formed. Or we can just simply say the cocoon is finished. Finished. Okay, so now we've got a split in the process, right?
Yes.
So how do we describe this? We need some kind of transition area.
Either at this point or here
From here.
Mm-hmm.
or from here. Either cocoon, either after 6 days cocoon, or mouth emerge from cocoon.
No, from here the cocoon is boiled, right?
What
Okay,
two steps here? Either the cycle will start again or
At this point, production of silk clothes start.
Yes, but something else can happen too.
Yes, it completes to the mouth.
Either to complete to the next step or production of silk clothes start.
either the cycle begins anew or productions of silk or silk clothes being produced.
Production start or being produced.
Okay, we can do this very, very quickly. At this point, the cycle continues to the next step in the silkworm's life, where a moth emerges from the cocoon after 16 days. Or what happens? The cycle, okay, let's do it like this. The cycle
We cannot say at the same time.
either.
No, I mean after 16 days at the same times, cocoon is also boiled.
Well, if the cocoon is boiled, then there's going to be no moth.
No, I mean like after emerges moth, at the same time, cocoon is all formed to say at the same time.
If you boil the cocoon, are you going to get a moth?
No.
That empty cocoon?
Well, is it an empty cocoon that
we are going to use for the silk production, not with the moth, right?
Okay, see, I don't know. I don't know if this cycle is interrupted to produce the silk, or
Mm-mm.
if they just wait for the moth to emerge and then take the remaining cocoon. Right? It's a little bit confusing.
We have to assume in that manner, otherwise there will be not enough moths to for the production of silk industry. So we have to assume that only the empty cocoon, as we know exact the logic. So we have to assume after moth released from the cocoon that we are going to use the empty cocoon for the silk production. That is how I perceive it.
Does anyone actually know the answer? Not
Actually,
that it matters, because we don't have access to anything during the test. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
no problem. Actually, in my opinion, I think because they put the circle up and square down, this is give me like a feeling of we need to put cycle either to continue this step or change to another cycle.
Right, because
It mixed together.
yeah, it doesn't show them taking the cocoon after the moth has emerged. Right, it says here, after 3 to 8 days, the cocoon, step 4, is finished.
Immediately start production. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they throw it in boiling water. So it's got to be an interruption. Now, keep in mind that these moths probably lay thousands of eggs. Or who knows how many eggs they lay. Maybe it's not thousands, maybe it's just a few. But I think if you're producing this, you would have some moths that are for breeding and other moths that are for producing silk. Just like if you're a farmer, like a chicken farmer, right? You're going to let some chickens produce babies because you need the next generation of chickens, but most of the eggs will be unfertilized and they'll be for sale. Yeah.
Oh, yes. So here you mean like we could talk about two possibilities. We put or.
Yeah. At this point, the cycle either continues to the next step in the silkworm's life, where a moth emerges from the cocoon after 16 days, or
Cocoon is boiled.
To start
Cocoon.
silk cloth production.
sorry, Safa, what did you say?
Yeah, I continue just as Allah said, or the cocoon is boiled to start silk clothes production.
Let's save that first step for the next paragraph. Let's save the boiling bit for
Okay.
the silk cloth production. So how do we do the
So we will
selection?
say, or the cocoon start silk clothes production.
Yeah.
Or the
Then,
being, or no, just 1 second. Or the cocoon.
let's use a simple verb, used.
Is used, okay, for silk production.
Good.
You can say or the cocoon being selected for silk production. Just like for example.
Because you put or, yeah. It's between
So-
two clauses.
Exactly what Dina said. Or, in this case, is between two clauses, so you need an independent clause after.
Okay.
Used for silk production. Okay, nice. So this is the life cycle stage. Now we're in the silk production stage. Shamri. Go ahead, Chamri.
Uh, starting from boiling the cocoon.
This is a new paragraph. I suggest starting a new paragraph with a simpler construction so it's crystal clear what you're talking about. You need a very clear topic sentence. Something like the first.
Yeah, okay. The first step of the production of silk cloth is boiling the cocoon.
Is
Boiling.
in water.
In water.
We'll say in water because you can boil stuff in lots of stuff. Just says water.
Okay.
Okay, Safa?
Okay.
Excuse me, I have a question. Why can't we say the first step of the production of silk cloth? Can we say of instead in? Or is it in should be there instead of?
Most commonly, it's the first step in this process.
Okay.
First step of the process. The first step of the process, yeah, that's okay too. The first step of the production process, the first step in the production process is in. My gut is telling me that in is far more common.
Okay.
Okay. Then the next step.
Mhm.
Unwind cocoon tray is start with, or we can use being here, right?
Don't try and use any of these structures. I'm going to caution you all. Even though we talk about these more complex grammatical structures, don't try to use them because it's just going to lead to problems.
Okay, if it came naturally, that's okay. If no, no need to force ourselves. Okay.
Yeah, remember, the examiner does not have a list of such structures that they are looking for. They want to see a variety. Subordinate clauses, relative clauses, especially in the middle of a sentence. Okay, those are called embedded, subordinate, or relative clauses. They want to see passive voice. And they want to see maybe a couple examples of something different.
Okay, then in the next step, cocoon is unwound.
Good. Passive voice, very nice. The cocoon is, what's the third form of, or what's the past tense of wind?
Unwound, I'm not sure actually. Unwounded.
Wound. It's pronounced wound.
Okay. Three.
Mm-hmm. And what about this business here?
2, 3 to reach 3 to 900 meters.
Mm-hmm.
Or about 3 to 900 meters.
Unwound. Something missing. Is unwound?
Here they mean meter
To
or
length?
million thread?
To a length of 300 to 900 meters.
Is unwound. We're going to put another idea in here. Allah, what did you want to put in here?
The next, the wound is the cocoon is unwounded.
Okay, so just a quick pronunciation note. When it's an injury, it's pronounced wound, right? The spelling is the same. The patient has a severe wound. When you're talking about string or fishing lines, thread, it's pronounced wound.
Wound.
There's a good expression. I like to unwind in front of a good movie. What does this mean? Why do we say this word unwind? If somebody asks you, what do you like to do in your spare time? For example, on IELTS, you can say on the weekend, after a long week at the office or after a long week seeing patients, I like to unwind in front of a good movie.
Stretch.
Relax.
Stretch.
Relax.
Hmm.
It's the idea of, this is the opposite of tension, of being tense, right? If something is tense, it's all like wound up. If someone is agitated, you can describe them as, he's really wound up. Something's really bothering him. He's really wound up. I like to relax. I like to unwind. So the cocoon is unwound to produce.
It's meter or million thread?
Millimeter would be mm. It's meters. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, that's so.
To a length of 300 to 900 meter.
So we don't need length anymore.
Because we put meters.
It's super clear what's going on. Yes, and you have the word meters there, so we know we're talking about length. Cocoon is unwound to produce a thread of 300 to 900 meters. We've got passive voice here. Excellent. Dina, next up.
And here, the thread is the thread is twisted, and either.
Okay, tell me what you want to say.
Either it is dyed, or it's either dyed directly, or it's wove. I think it's woven and then dyed.
Okay, the thread is twisted, and either it is dyed
directly, or it is, I think, woven.
Directly woven. Weave, wove, woven.
Woven.
Directly, or is
woven before dyeing.
Woven before dyeing. Before dyeing or being dyed. Right, and it's D-Y-E-D if you're talking about applying color. Either it is dyed directly or is woven before being, this is better, before being dyed. Because dyeing, yeah, okay. Because it's not dyeing, it's being dyed, right? It can't dye itself. So here we need a transition, and that's it. Dina, this is a simple one, but what transition would you put here?
Finally.
That's it. Cool, so this is 141 words, and there's a couple, it's not terribly accurate because we've got multiple choices here, we've got multiple options rather, but we still need an intro. Okay, so I didn't put the header here, but what would you write for the introduction? Chamri.
The life cycle of Silkworm has 4 stages.
We always start with
the diagram depicts the life cycle of the silkworm.
It's the life cycle of the silkworm, or if it says the life cycle of the silkworm, we can say the silkworm's life cycle, because you want to paraphrase.
Yeah, silkworm life cycle. It has four stages.
Not life cycle, life cycle. Okay, life cycle, which has 1, 2, 3, 4.
Actually, it should be 5, right?
5. Okay, so 5 stages, and we missed one thing here. Maybe we didn't. Okay, I think we're okay. The diagram depicts or illustrates the silkworm's life cycle, which has 5 stages, and
you want to like join the production of the skill cloth also into the introduction?
well, it's part of the diagram, so it needs to be part of the general overview.
And the production of silk cloth?
Yeah, and the silk cloth production process.
Which has 5 stages.
Which also has 5. Okay, this is fine. Are there any details that we could add to this to bulk it up a little bit?
Should we mention that the other sentence, normally we say that generally speaking, should we say that also into the introduction here?
In this case, because of this context and the way we've got it here, okay, if we split this up and said the diagram depicts the silkworm and silk cloth production life cycle. There's another way to do it. The diagram illustrates the silkworm life cycle and silk cloth production process. In general, we can say general, or we can say overall, whatever you want. General.
Can we say overall all post-cycle will contain 5 steps or 5 stages?
Yes, you can. Call has 5 stages that take place over how many days?
26 and
Maybe we can say by weeks, around 11 weeks, or roughly 12 weeks.
Let's say I'm going to, just as an average, I'm going to do 5 weeks plus 1 week plus 2 weeks. So we're at 5, 6, 7, 8.
Nearly 10 weeks.
9,
10 weeks.
General silkworm life cycle is 5 stages take place over roughly 10 weeks. And the silk cloth production And the so synonym for take place.
Include. Include.
Happened.
Okay, includes 5 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 6 steps, but okay. Right, because it's selection, boiling, unwinding, twisting, dyeing, and weaving. So I think that's a mistake, right? Includes 6.
Maybe selection. No need to consider selection as a step, or
I think you have to, because some of them might be no good. They just want to pick the best ones, right? And sorry, the convention with numbers is that if the number has 1 syllable, you write it out. So basically 1 to 10, you write it out, and then 11 and up, you can write the number.
And the process can't we say whereas?
Charmy, one more time, please.
Now you say roughly 10 weeks, comma, and the process of silk cloth production. Instead saying and the, can't we say whereas the process of silk cloth production includes 6 steps?
1 second, General. Whereas the process, 6 steps. Whereas is kind of a contrast word. Right, you can say my home country has a tropical climate, whereas Canada has a mixed climate.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so there's the contrast there.
Yeah, we are not like comparing these two. This is okay.
Right? 2 completely different things.
Yes, got it.
Has 5 stages that take place over about 10 weeks. Yeah. So if you do this in 1 sentence, you're going to have a 1-sentence intro that includes just the context and the general overview, or you can chop it up into 2 sentences. So we're going to end here.